Welcome to the PopGo Project podcast, a platform for the discussion and discovery of arts and entertainment. We focus on highlighting people and events that add value to the world around us. Visit us on all social media platforms by searching the PopGo Project or visit our website at thepopgoproject.com. Welcome to the show, and thank you so much for listening. This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Keller's Garden Center and Landscaping Services. Are you still cutting your own grass? Are you still trying to get your landscaping to look perfect on your own? That sounds sweaty. That sounds like a lot of work. That sounds like a job for Keller's Garden Center and Landscaping Services. Family-owned and operated Keller's Garden Center and Landscaping Services, located on Kern Street in Exeter near Blue Ribbon Dairy, has the quality and experience to get your yard looking its best. The Garden Center offers plants, trees, sod, mulch, rocks, flowers, topsoil, grass seed, straw bales, and much more, while the Lawn and Landscaping Services offers mowing, trimming, planting, and full landscaping. Visit them on their social media pages for more info. Keller's Garden Center and Landscaping Services. Get your free estimate today. Ned, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Dude, thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it. Ned Russin from Title Fight and more recently, Glitterer. It's hard to say, Glitterer.
Yeah, I've gotten that a lot.
It doesn't help that I mumble. So it's like, put a mumbling man and put that word in his mouth, and it's like, forget it.
Yeah. It's. I'm the same way. When I introduce this live, I condense it to like one syllable,
Yeah.
But it's just
glitter.
Yeah.
Well, dude, I can't thank you enough for doing this. This is a milestone for me. This is episode 100 of the PopGo Project podcast. So they say that you don't really have a podcast until you hit 100 episodes. I don't know who they are, but that's what I've heard. And so here we are.
Well, congrats.
I guess, there's any Joe Schmo like myself can have a podcast, and there's millions of them out there, but a lot of them, start up and maybe do a few episodes and they kind of burn out. But I guess that's why they say it. I don't know who they are, like I said, but thank you for doing this. Thank you for being part of the milestone for me. And hopefully we'll have a good time tonight.
Yeah, of course.
So yeah, it's funny. Like, I mentioned you were, or I guess I can kind of say you are a part of Title Fight, because there has not been a definitive, like, we're done or whatever. You didn't leave the band per se, but I've been a part of like your band life in Title Fight, and then obviously Glitterer. In my life in media and the Weekender days, I mean, the Title Fight was in the Weekender, I don't know how many times, and but I never really had a chance to talk to you or learn more about the band. I mean, I was never on the editorial side, so to speak, of the Weekender, and I didn't get to read everything that we printed. And Title Fight was definitely not something that I read a lot about. But what a band, in our area, Northeastern Pennsylvania, that really kind of took off. And I don't want to say underground, because you were much bigger than that, but like, what are your thoughts on all that?
I think of us as an underground band. I think of myself as being involved in the underground scene. And that's kind of what I care about and what we as a band care about. So I think I can only speak for myself here, but my feelings about the band and about our reception are, are warm, fuzzy ones. All the stuff that we did really means a lot to me. And I'm perfectly content with everything that we were able to do and everything. And I think for me, the biggest thing is kind of like going back to the idea of being underground. I think for us, it was about doing the band in the way that we wanted to do it. Supporting like-minded people, supporting ideas, and I don't know, just things that were not necessarily mainstream. And you know, I think like that's how I feel about it looking back right now. As I've gotten older, like those things have become more and more important to me as I've gotten older. The actual like scene that gives a place for ideas and things to grow and bands and people and all these things, and to be a part of that in the local community and to have that expand to a larger community, you know, across the country as we traveled throughout the world. It was very important to us, but at the same time, we were most focused on being in control of that, like maintaining that community, kind of just rather than establishing ourselves and finding somewhere else to go, kind of expanding the local community that we built to kind of like bring everybody involved into it, to make everybody feel like if they were to see Title Fight, if they were to listen to Title Fight, that they too could be from Kingston. You know, like that's kind of how it felt like we were approaching it.
Yeah, I think you guys nailed it. I mean, you have such a rabid fan base and such a. I give a shout out to Kate Kishbaugh, who I work with.
Of course, Kate.
Yeah, she helped me set this up, so thank you, Kate. But we were talking today, and I was like, you know, I feel like I'm gonna get exposed talking to you because I was never part of that like scene, that life, and that community. I was always part of the band scene and things like that. I just wasn't part of that like punk and hardcore pocket, I guess you could say.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, you guys definitely like, you know, everyone that was a fan of yours felt like almost like they were a part of the band to a degree.
Yeah, I mean, I that's like an interesting phenomenon of like the weird part of fandom that is ownership, and you see like that kind of presents itself in people being upset that a band will make a different sounding record, and I mean, Title Fight encountered that every time we made a record of people being like, why can't you make the record you made last time? Why can't you do this? And like that's a curious thing to kind of encounter. It's like, I don't know.
It's not fair.
It's annoying sometimes, but at the same time, it's like I've done the same thing to bands.
Yeah,
you know, and it's. I think the thing is about Title Fight though is a lot of the lyrical content was vulnerable, and I think that presented itself in the live show as well, and just like the way that the entire, I don't want to say aesthetic of the band, but the entire like, I don't know. The way the band operated was very much like, this is how I'm feeling. And if you feel the same way, you can like join us, you know?
right.
And I think that resonated with people. And I think that was, I don't know. I think that had a lot to do with the fact that people cared and people continue to care. And it's I don't know. There's a lot to it, and I think there's interesting things that you've already touched on, like the fact that you say you weren't involved in the hardcore punk scene, and the fact that I think, you know, in my mind, it's like that's kind of the only thing that I know. But when I look at Title Fight, it's like, yeah, we, you know, like that's where we came from. But I don't necessarily think that, I don't know, there's like a singular kind of genre or like aesthetic that we fit into or belong to. And so I think that allowed a lot of people, like, also saying that, I will acknowledge, like, to me, hardcore is an ideology and I subscribe to it. And therefore I think Title Fight is a hardcore band. Mm-hmm. But because it's an ideology, like there is no, in my opinion, like kind of boundaries between things, be it sonic or I don't know, anything. So it's like if you have that definition of something, there's like really no reason for it to fit into any singular scene. And so like we play and we are, I don't know, allowed to do kind of whatever we want then. If you kind of like remove that the nonsense barrier. And so I think that like resonated with people as well. And I think people felt a part of it, whether they were, you know, a diehard like punk, or whether they were a kid who listened to indie music, or just sort of like any kind of electric guitar music or something. It's like, we I don't know, none of that was like important to us other than like we liked it. And I think the ideas behind it were super important, and we try to put that forward in the band. And it's like all those things kind of intersected in a really weird point. And that's kind of like where we existed in, or it's kind of, I don't know, as I talk about it now and I get like very theoretical and whatever, because it's like, I don't know. At the time it was just natural. It's just what we did. And now looking back, I don't know how to make sense of it entirely. And the way that I do try and make sense of it is like I'm connecting random dots. Yeah. But it's like I do feel like, you know, I feel strongly. I just feel also confused.
Right.
And so, and I think that's also like similar to how I felt when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And I feel like those things about multiple parts of the band and all these things. So it's like, all these things kind of coexist at one moment. And I think that's normal. And we were upfront about that. And I think people were able to latch onto that.
Yeah. And I don't want to talk too much about Title Fight because, you know, you've kind of moved on from that maybe in a way, but you mentioned people still care a lot about that band. And that was proven, I think it was last year when there was not even rumor, it was said that there was going to be a billboard placed over the mural in Wilkes-Barre.
Mm-hmm.
And people were losing their minds. Like,
yeah,
that is a part of their life. It's a part of the city. It's a part of like the hardcore scene here in Wilkes-Barre. Like, I mean, the band at that point, I don't know how many years it was between the last, you know, record or when you guys kind of took a break or whatever. But I mean, people were up in arms. I mean, like, people still care about that band and that music to this day. In fact, Kate was saying that like she went to our boss and said, "Hey, this is going to happen. Like, if this happens, can we just buy the space on the billboard and then just not put anything up so that the mural still remains visible?" My boss was like, "Yeah, that's we'll do that." But I don't know whatever happened to that. I actually used to work with the gentleman, Rob Barletta. He used to, when I worked in radio at Time Shamrock, he started his own outdoor media company, which, you know, congrats to him. And obviously it was there was no ill will in his mind. I don't think he probably had any idea what he was doing. I don't know whatever happened with that, but you mentioned before that, you know, people still care about, you know, what you guys did. And I mean, that's proof right there.
Yeah. The billboard incident was, that was interesting. That totally got out of hand really quick. But yeah, honestly, I at the start of that whole thing, I really wasn't concerned about saving the mural. And it's just like the way that I think about things is that everything is temporary in a sense. And so it's like we put up the mural with the intent of having it stay up for a long time, but knowing that it's a part of a building that belongs on a block in a city that is, you know, not too excited about supporting the things that we did, and the scene that we come from, and the people that, you know, support that scene and whatever. And so it was like, we knew full well that it was like possible that it was going to get covered up or painted over, or the building would get torn. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's like, these things are all possible, and it happened. It's like, I guess the time came and it was sooner than I thought. And then when the billboard thing happened and we had to deal with that, and there was like kind of the push, but from like people on the internet and, you know, people traveling to the billboard and like the news covering and stuff, that kind of all like made it like a little bit of a bigger deal. And then we as a band actually had the opportunity to speak to a couple like city council people and the mayor of Wilkes-Barre, which is crazy, and Rob Barletta, and there was like a couple other community people involved. And when that happened, then it was like, yeah, I would like to advocate to save the billboard, or excuse me, to save the mural, to not have the billboard. And so we spoke to the mayor, and we kind of like made our case, which is essentially like, if you're asking us if you can like put a billboard over the mural, like it's not really our decision. We don't know the building. We just put up the mural. But if you are trying to like make people not upset, the only way you can make people not upset is to not put up the mural. And Rob Barletta was saying something about how like if he doesn't put up something, then somebody else will put it up later. And I was like, okay, that's fine. But you're asking me if people are going to be mad at you. And yeah, people are going to be mad at you. And, that was like a really crazy scenario. It was weird to like, I don't care about the mayor of Wilkes-Barre, not that I think he's a bad guy, but it's like, I don't think about him in my daily life, and to like come face to face with him and him like acknowledge that we were a band, and the city council saying that like the local music scene is like the most important export from Wilkes-Barre. Like that was a pretty like weird thing to experience. And it ended up that the mural was saved, and it was like kind of a happy ending in that way. And they still put up the billboard. I think it doesn't look good. I think the billboard is like really unsightly, but again, like it's like telling of the area. It's like it's another part of the story. Maybe one day it'll come down. That's not really for us to say, but it's it like people cared, and if people want to save it, then like I will do the people's bidding. Like I'm happy to do that. It was like, it was a thing that I came full circle on. It was at first I was like, I guess it's going to go. And then it was like, okay, we should probably do something. And it was like, it felt nice to have the support of all those people.
It's so wild. It's so cool. I mean, like I said, I remember seeing the album cover that's from, and yeah, it just, that was actually the first Title Fight album I ever bought.
Cool.
So yeah, it's just neat. It's kind of just neat to see like how meaningful, music is in people's lives, and it's just great to see.
Yeah.
But, so with that being said, I mean, what was it like? I keep saying that, Title Fight is no longer. And if you can correct me whenever I misspeak, maybe I'm just ignorant to it. But I mean, how was it like moving on from that and starting your own thing in Glitterer?
It's, I think, as you'd expect it to be, nerve-wracking and anxiety inducing and like existential crisis causing, but at the same time, it's like, Title Fight status is nothing. Like there is no news, and we make no statements on it because it's like, it's just as it seems, essentially. And so because Title Fight had no plans and Title Fight had nothing going on, it was kind of like time to do something else. And I had already been in school at that point. I had moved to New York, and I was trying to kind of figure out what I was doing. And I don't want to say I conceptualized Glitterer like it was some like big idea, but it's like I started to write songs that became the Glitterer songs in like 2017 and started working on it. And it was just like, I want to play music. This is what I enjoy doing. It doesn't matter what the capacity is. It doesn't matter if it's like, playing to a lot of people on tour across the world, or if it's just like I'm doing it in my bedroom by myself. Like it's just what I enjoy to do. So started writing these songs because I wanted to, and then it kind of like it turned into a thing that's like, okay, I guess like I'll play and I guess I'll release like a, recording, and I guess I'll do like kind of the traditional thing that you do when you start a band. But then it was like the format of the band was non-traditional. The format was just myself for a couple years. And it was like awkward to figure that out because it was such I think it was like intentionally removed from the setup of a traditional band because that's all I've ever done. And I wanted to try something different, but it was also like, this is what I can manage right now. I was like going to school full time. I was working. I was, just involved in normal life stuff. And I was like, this is what I can manage to do on my own. And so I started doing that. And as it evolved and like started to play more shows, it started to like, I don't know, become more and more of a quote unquote real band. It was like, you do have to kind of come to terms with like certain aspects of expectations or of, I don't know, people's feelings about you in relation to other parts of your life. And that's like, I really don't care. I do not care what people think. I do not care what people say or like, that being said, I'm a human. My feelings like do get hurt sometimes.
Sure.
And it's like, you have to deal with that. It's like people have this idea of what I am or what I should be or what I should be doing in comparison to the person that I was when I was 18 or 23 or 25. And yeah, it's like doing glitter as it got more real was like answering to a lot of people's expectations. And the thing is like, I didn't want to answer to it and I don't want to answer to it. So I just don't answer. The answer is like the music, the answer are the shows. Like, and so it's like, yeah, it's learning how to navigate that while also just trying to be like, I just want to play music. Is like, it's a weird new old challenge, it's like, it's the same thing I've been doing since I was a teenager, but it's a new context. And so just figure it out as I go.
Right. You said you were going back to school and working. What'd you go to school for?
I went to school for creative writing.
Okay. Did you finish?
I did. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, I did.
Go ahead.
Sorry. I was just going to say, I started college right out of high school, dropped out after one semester, started back at community college in, I don't know, probably like 2012, 2013, got my associates while on tour. And then I went back to school full-time in New York in 2016. And I had whatever, like 60, 70 credits, and they didn't count any of them.
Of course.
Because they were all online. So I started over and I did school again in 3 years or something, just starting from scratch.
Wow. I asked if you finished because I didn't know if the music kind of pulled you back into, that.
No, I mean, I only had like a year or so left of school when I started Glitterer, but also while I was in school, I was still doing Title Fight stuff. I flew to England to play a festival over there during like right before the last week of my like final exams in 2017 or something. So it's like I was actively playing music, but it was just like on the side, Right. It's like I was a full-time student and I was like intent on finishing. It's, it was a lot easier to finish starting at 25 than it was starting at 19. And so I was like, I actually want to be here and I'm like spending money. So I should really try and like get this done.
You respect the idea of it then?
Yeah.
That's amazing. The college, I just saw the Biden just was forgiving X amount of, I'm not sure the specifics yet, but
yeah,
I think that college is like, it's not for everyone. I think it's very important as far as, knowledge and learning and education, but they don't make it easy for anybody, as far as the debt you put yourself in and things like that. And
it's, yeah, I don't think it's a necessary evil. I think it's it's a great thing,
Mhm.
but it's like it's I don't know. Yeah, like you said, it's not for everybody, and it's not indicative of people's talents or their worth,
Right.
obviously. And so it's like if you don't need to, I don't know, if you don't need those skills, then you don't need to do it.
Yeah.
Or if it's not appealing to you, or it's not like something that's interests you.
But I think it goes a lot to what you just said. I mean, you treated it differently at 25 than you did at 18, 19. And I think that, for someone to be forced to say, figure out the rest of your life as an 18-year-old is foolish.
Yeah.
But as a 25-year-old who has had some experiences and traveled and has seen the world and, all these different types of things, now you can go do that and be like, this is important to me and I understand why and how this can benefit me in the future. And
Yeah.
I kind of have a better idea of what I want to do.
I feel like I'm just as foolish as that now as I was then. Like I studied creative writing.
Sure.
It's like there are a few less marketable skills,
I was going to say, have you been able to apply that in your life now?
I mean, I guess technically I'm like, but not like in a career sense. No, like I have a job doing quote unquote copywriting, but I work for my friends. Like I didn't need to go to college to get that job. But to me, like the thing that I wanted out of college was reframing a way to think. And to me, like that was really important. And that's what like I was really excited about in college. And that's what I pursued. Reading different kind of things, hearing different ideas explained and just working on whatever, like trying to adapt to a different perspective, and open myself up to that. And in that regard, like I'd like to think I was successful. And like that was something that I was like really excited about. And I wasn't excited about that idea at all when I was 19.
Right.
It was just like go to school so you could get a degree, so you could get a job. And like the way that I feel about that now is like so completely different. Cause like, I don't know. That's so uninteresting to me. Not that work or like people's like whatever need to pay their bills is uninteresting.
I know what you're saying.
It's like the idea that you have to do something in order to like find some sort of fulfillment,
right,
while also paying your bills. It's like, I don't think that's like a real pursuit. I don't know. It seems like impossible.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think, and I don't know how old you are and I don't know your upbringing, but I feel like, my life and, my generation, like we were told, like, go to school, get good grades, get into a college, do well in college, get a job, buy a house, buy picket fence, blah, blah, blah. Like we were like groomed. That's how we were like raised. Like that's how life worked. And that's you weren't successful unless that's what you did.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't blame my parents or the parents of that generation by any means, but I mean, they were just looking out for, our best interest. But was that the right way to go about it? Probably not. I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, I mean, that's like a big question, one that I don't think I'm suited to answer. But yeah, it's I don't know, things have changed and they'll continue to change, and the need for higher education will change inevitably. That being said, I think the good things of college and education in general will always be there. Yeah. And I think some people are better at other things and have interest in other things, and that's like just as valid.
Well, yeah, I mean, like we're told, like work with your mind and not your hands, and like so, like the whole trade, system was kind of like, oh, that's looked down upon almost. Like don't be a plumber, don't be an electrician, like that's like don't do that. But like. They are very important. Yeah. We need those people. There's not a surplus of those right now. There's a lack thereof. And I mean, people that are in those industries are naming their price right now. There's they're few and far between. There's few that are good at what they do. Well, I shouldn't say that. I'm just saying, like, there's not a lot. So it's like, it's hard, but it's kind of foolish. I mean, I hope that people these days kind of really think about all the options and not just like, oh, I can't be a plumber. That's looked down upon, or I can't be this or that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's yeah.
It's weird, but now we're not going to solve the education system tonight, so we can get back to Glitterer.
I'm much more capable of answering those questions.
Yeah. And how is that different, like musically, from your time in Title Fight?
I don't know. In writing music, I don't think of it in those terms. I've never really, for anything that I've written, kind of sat down with some sort of musical agenda. And I will say the times that I have that, like, we've kind of had like a band meeting before sitting down and writing. We've never done what we said we were going to do. It's just like, I kind of believe in like following kind of like your subconscious in a way. And so musically, it's definitely different, partially because the instrumentation is different. But I think mainly it's different because I'm at a different point in my life. And so musically it's I don't want to say it's representative of who I am as a person in the current moment, because I think everybody is way more nuanced than just, one singular thing, but it's a part of like that is a representation of a part of me for sure. And so it's melodic. It involves keyboards and synths, which I never used before with Title Fight, really. Even though Shane did play some synth on Hyperview. But yeah, it's just like trying out these different things, and I stumbled up where I stumbled up. I stumbled where I stumbled upon, and that's kind of like what Glitterer is, I guess. It's not that thought out.
It just kind of happens.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair.
It's just kind of like my big line of thinking is like, it's a song should like follow its own logic to that conclusion. Like things kind of like make sense to a certain point. And you just kind of gotta like follow that line.
Yeah.
This note sounds right after that note. This chord sounds right after this chord. This word sounds good after that word. You put those pieces together and it's like a weird puzzle, like it'll fit.
Right.
And so you just kind of got to like find the puzzle pieces and then put them together. And then like, that's what it is.
Now I know you said you don't care, but when you started Glitterer, what was the reception from the fans of Title Fight? Were they happy to see you, still creating, still producing, still giving them new music? Or were they like, yo, this isn't Title Fight, what the hell?
Both, and some other things as well. It's also, I think, an important thing to take into consideration is that the beginning of Glitterer was literally just me on stage with a microphone and a computer for most of my time, until I got like a real sampler. But it was like a completely different setup.
Sure.
And part of that was intentional because it was different than what I've done in the past. And also it was uncomfortable. It is like, if you go to a show that bands are playing, you expect a band to have a drummer, a bassist, a guitarist or two, and a singer of some sort, and like maybe something else, but like pretty standard, like that's what you're going for. And I'm going to shows playing with that kind of traditional setup, and I'm just standing up there by myself, singing along to a computer. And it's super weird because it like, it doesn't follow that normal trajectory, but also it's like it's uncomfortable to watch a person sing just by themselves because like you're worried that they're going to mess up and you're worried that they're like going to make a fool of themselves and you kind of feel bad for them in a way. And maybe this is all a big projection, but like that's kind of how I felt playing. Like it felt like people were like kind of looking like side to side while I was playing. Like, is this guy for real? Like, if he screws up, like he's going to make a fool of himself. And the thing is like, I screwed up many times and it's like, yeah, it's like awkward and uncomfortable because you have like no control over that situation. But the thing is like, it was intentional. As much as I like don't believe in the intent of the artist really mattering that much, but it was like it's like bringing attention to the lyrics, which are significant for a reason. Like I wrote them to have whatever meaning, and I thought that live setup, while also being like easy to do and confrontational, it also, I thought, reinforced the themes in the lyrics, which were very like solipsistic, solitary, kind of like existential crisisy, and trying to address in some fashion the reason why I think the way like, I don't know, a lot of like current cultural stuff is the way it is, that is like incredibly selfish and incredibly self-centered and like oddly nihilistic. And I think the setup like reinforced that idea. And so like it was, I don't know, it was fun to do it because it was like weird in that way. And like, yeah, it like made people uncomfortable and people like, what is he doing? I want Title Fight back. And then some people like, yeah, like this is fine. But it was like, I don't know. It was like fun to play with that. I don't want to say fun. I don't like the word fun. It was like interesting to play with that idea and to like flip a lot of things on its head and to try something new. Even though like I'm not the person to invent that style or that live setup, like there's so many people who've done it before me, but it's like, it was new to me and that was what was important. And since then I've returned to a traditional band format and now it's like kind of different, but it's like, that was like, I don't know, a weird chapter of something like trying out and figuring it out and also like subverting people's expectations. Right. And trying to like, just, I don't know, figure out what the band was.
Now, when you created Glitterer, did you have a vision that one day it would be more of a traditional band? And I say that because, like, you named it what it is instead of like, Ned Russin, which would be like a, true solo, effort. Did you have a vision for what it is now?
At the very beginning, no, I had no idea. But like probably around the time that like I got, I don't want to say serious, but like around the time when I like started to write the first LP, yeah, I was like, I want to do a band. Cause that was also when I started to record with like a full band's worth of instruments. The first two EPs were just a bass, a drum machine, which was just like programmed drums, like, and a keyboard and vocals. And that was it. And then when we started doing LPs, then it was like, okay, there's drums, there's guitars, there's bass and keys like on top of it. But it's like, it's just like a band now, the recording setup completely changed. And so around that time, that's when I was like, yeah, I would like to like change the band into something. And I was kind of like toying with the idea of constantly expanding and contracting the band and like changing it and showing up in different formats all the time. And like, sometimes it'll be like an 8-piece band and sometimes it'll be like a 3-piece band and sometimes it'll be just me. And then started practicing with a group of people, started playing shows, started touring with a consistent group of people. And it's like, I don't want it to, because even then, like, yeah, then it becomes like a solo project or like a thing. And it's like, I really don't like the idea of a solo project. I don't like the idea of like a project in general. I like the idea of a band. Like that's what I'm interested in. I'm interested in the collaboration between people. I'm interested in, I don't know, like essentially the age-old aesthetic that I grew up loving of bass, drums, guitar, maybe somebody else and a singer. Like it's like that's what I like, and it's like having a taste of that. I was like, yeah, this is what it is,
Right.
and it just kind of transitioned into that of a consistent group of people, like a band,
Right.
of more than just me. Finally,
That's good. That's good.
Thank you.
I have to admit, there was this time where there's a lot of changes going on in the local scene. I feel like a member from Tiger's Jaw left. He started Wicca Phase, Springs Eternal,
Mm-hmm.
and then you started this project or this band. And me being an outsider, so to speak, I confuse a lot of those together. So I've just recently got into Glitterer. And I like it a lot. I actually probably like it more than Title Fight, for what that's worth.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
It was like so I thought Glitterer was something completely different. I thought Glitterer was more of what Wicca Phase does. But the scene is so like intertwined. I feel like, you have, I know you're doing a show with Tiger's Jaw coming up beginning of September.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about that a little bit, but I feel like a lot of you guys are like good friends too.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of feels odd that like the scene that I grew up in is still very much active.
Right.
And like the people that I knew when I was young, for the most part, are still like involved in a lot of ways. A lot of people still playing in bands. A lot of bands are still around.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I think, yeah, like, I don't know. And another thing that I like about the group of people that I grew up with is I don't know, people's like willingness to change and try new things. And, like Adam doing Wicca Phase at the time was like a really radical like thing to do. And it was like, I found that really inspiring. And just like, I don't know, like a bunch of other people and just bands that came before us and bands that have yet to come, like all these things that still exist, like in Northeast PA, I don't know, feel good to me. Like make me feel kind of like at home and I don't know, a part of something. And it's, I think it goes back to what I was talking about earlier about like it not being like a sonic thing. Cause there's a lot of bands from Wilkes-Barre from past and present that don't sound alike. But just the fact that people are still like interested in music and going to shows and doing bands is like, that's what I like. That's the community, and it's changing. And like, yeah, there are ways that I would like it to change but it's not just up to me, and it's like, it is what it is. And I like it for that, it's kind of always how it's been.
What ways would you want it to change?
I mean, just the way that I am now, like I would like an emphasis on certain things. I would like, I would appreciate if people were, I don't know. I don't want this to come off as like preachy or upset or anything, but me personally, the things that I care about are like the independent nature of music, the countercultural aspect of music, the like anti-business part of music, because to me, it's like, it's important to like, yeah, like I think bands and people should be compensated fairly, but at the same time, it's like a weird, complicated thing. I think that also like sometimes you do something not for the expectation of compensation, but you do it because it's important.
Mm-hmm.
Because you do it because it's I don't know, it has value beyond yourself. And I think music is like, to me, like,
It's powerful.
yeah, music, like it should be more than just like a paycheck. And I think like the fake music business aspect of a lot of like underground music stuff is really kind of annoying, and honestly sometimes even like angering. And I don't like, I'm not saying this is about like as if it's about Wooksbury in general again, but it's like, yeah, it's I would like it to be a place of like true counterculture,
Sure.
of like yeah, of like people just doing things because they want to, people taking care of one another, people putting emphasis on the community and the community at large, of taking care of, you know, people who need to be taken care of, putting that emphasis, like an emphasis on you know, on care of the scene, of your community, of the city. Like those are things that I like, I feel passionate about now. But also like, that's just how I'm going to live my life and how I'm going to do the things that I do. And so it's like, I don't need everybody to do the same thing as me, but it would be nice to see people, I don't know, trying to play music, not because they want to make it,
Right.
but just because they, you know,
I love it.
yeah.
Well, I think that's a good segue. I mean, I'm going to talk about this show. It's unfortunate. Well, it's a great thing. It's sold out. It's unfortunate because we're going to talk about it, and if people hear about it for the first time, they can't go. They can't buy tickets because it's sold out. But it's a show that Kate put on, and you know, you mentioned doing things because it's important. And the show is a Planned Parenthood benefit show, September 3rd at the Cooperage in Honesdale. Tiger's Jaw, Wild Red, Glass Mask, the Glom, and Sunrooms. And I feel like anyone who's part of that show is, you know, part of it because, you know, it's important, and the beneficiary is important.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just kind of going to what you said. And, you know, how do you feel about that? You know, are you doing that show because it's important to you?
Yeah. I think like the way that Kate has done her Planned Parenthood shows for the last couple of years have been like really inspiring and really like something that I want to be a part of. And it's kind of exactly a perfect example of what I'm talking about. It's, yeah, like this is not the first Planned Parenthood show, that benefit show that Kate has booked. But it's certainly turning out to be the biggest. And it's something that she does because it's important to her.
Yeah.
And it's something that resonates with a lot of people because it's important to a lot of people, as it should be.
Sure.
And so, you know, Kate goes out of her way to get cool bands, to have the show at a cool venue, to get people to donate for raffles and stuff like that. And like to just put in a lot of work because she wants to, and because it's important to do that. And so she asked us to play, and we were happy to do it because it's a really, to me, it's a really important thing for the scene. It's a really important thing for like the local community. And it's just like a really important thing for people. And the little things that we can do to support other people by donating our time and energy and money, it may not feel like it adds up, but you know, when you put whatever 5 or 6 really good bands in a show, people will come out, as you know, as shown by the show that Kate booked. It's sold out.
Yeah.
And so like doing all that, like it adds up, and hopefully we'll be able to donate a lot of money, and we'll continue to support the cause. We'll continue to support women's rights, access to abortion, all these things that us as a band are very passionate about, and it seems like the scene is really passionate about it as well, as I believe they are, and I hope they'll continue to be. And it's something that it's like I'm just simply excited for it.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be really cool. And I'm always happy to just be a part of Kate's shows. I think they're always cool.
Kate's the best. She's a sweetheart.
Yeah.
She's extremely caring, and I love her for that. It's a pleasure working with Kate, even though she gets mad at me sometimes. If she's listening to this, I like to say things that I don't mean when she's listening, because I know she like gets upset, and it's like, Kate, you know that I'm only joking, so why are you getting upset? And she's like, I don't know. It's like, I love Kate. Kate's the best. My office mate.
Yeah, she's great.
I feel like I've asked you, like, I don't want to say uncomfortable questions, just questions that like had maybe some heavy answers or tied to, things like abortions and women's rights and things like that. Not that I'm not saying they should be like hidden, because like we should all bring that to the forefront, but as far as like some lighter things in life and some fun tales and things like that, and I'll let you go after that. But what are some fun tour stories that you might have?
Let me think. Fun tour stories.
You got to have something. I mean, you've been doing it for how long now?
Yeah, that's like a tough question to.
Nothing, like not one thing stands out.
I mean, like to me the most fun parts about going on tour were just like, I don't know, like meeting the people that we met and stuff. Seeing the bands that we got to see. I don't. There's like, because also the things that I think about, like first with touring are like the kind of like crazy things. Like the tire flying off the van and stuff like that. Like I always think about that one first. But the thing is, I don't know. One of the most fun things we ever did on tour was we went to Hawaii. We strung together an Australian tour, New Zealand, Hawaii, and Japan. And Hawaii, we played 2 shows, I think, with Trapped Under Ice. And we had like a week off there where we were just hanging out. And there is this, it's like, I guess you could call it a hike, but there's like an old radio tower that you have to go like sneak into, like walk through like a cut fence, and you go there at like 3 a.m. and you walk up thousands of stairs until you get to like the old radio control tower at the top of this hill. And you get there at like 5 a.m, and then you wait for sunrise. You watch the sunrise from this little concrete hut on the top of this like gorgeous Hawaiian hillside. And then you walk down the stairs again. And so we did this, one of the nights we were there, and it was honestly like a really physically trying hike, because it's just like, even though there are stairs and railings, it's just like straight up for like forever, it feels like. And then, like just that was like, it was a beautiful, just like, I don't know, nice experience that we had. And then kind of the punchline of this story is that shortly after that, that's when I started at community college, at Luzerne County Community College. And I went to the office there for some sort of like scheduling thing. And whatever person I was speaking with, the advisor had a picture taped onto their computer monitor, and it said, life is hard. Sometimes you have to take the stairs or like something like that. And it was a picture of the hike that I had just done in Hawaii.
Oh shit.
And I was like, yeah, like this is, it's serendipitous in a way, but it's also like the stuff that people have on their computer screens as like crazy, weird, I don't know, things that people do. Like
But they'll never see
I would,
it. Maybe they'll
yeah.
never see it.
I was able to do that through
You did it, yeah.
playing shows.
Awesome.
And that was like, I mean, it was also funny because it was at community college, which is like, I went from playing in Hawaii to like enrolling at community college, but I was still touring at that point. And it was just like, yeah, this is like, I don't know. It's humbling in a way. Cause like the stuff that we're able to do it in our early 20s because of music is the stuff that people tape to the side of their computers.
Yeah.
And that was like, but that hike, they call it Stairway to Heaven. It was like, it was beautiful. It was amazing. It was it was like a really, I don't know, great time with my friends.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying too, is like, you know, like you talk about this person at a community college with this on their desktop, maybe they've witnessed it. Maybe it's like a dream of theirs to go to or whatever it might be. Like, but going back to what we said earlier, like being forced into, you know, school and forced down that path rather than kind of just like living life and experiencing things. And it sucks because like you need money to do all that to a degree if you're not a touring band and things like that. And it's just like just saying like the youth is wasted on the young, or
Yeah.
and that's like I never really thought about it until I got older. I'm like, wow, that's like so true. It's like life's a funny game. To an extent.
Yeah. It's yeah, it is. It's I recognize like a lot of I recognize the good fortune that I had and continue to have, being able to travel, being able to play music, something that I don't take lightly, but at the same time, it's I do feel like all of these things are accessible to everybody in a certain way. Traveling is maybe a hard example because it requires like money, but the thing is like the experiences that I had were not because of the place, they were because of like the people.
Right.
You know, like being there with the band is what I remember about it more than like it's, and I say this recognizing the privilege of having been to like many beautiful places, but how I feel now is like I'm happier that I got to spend that time with my friends than I am that I got to spend it traveling. And so like that's kind of like where I'm at now. And it's like everybody is capable of it sounds corny to say, but it's like saying everybody is capable of everything, because it's like I don't mean that in terms of like success or like starting a business or you know, like achieving their goals. Like I'm not talking about that. It's like everyone is capable of like finding good feelings is what I really mean, you know? And like that to me is like an incredibly empowering thing. And like the older I get, the more like that's what I'm like searching for. Not through place and not through like idea, but through just like I don't know, some sort of personal like whatever. I don't know, it's personal satisfaction or something.
Yeah, just moments. Like, you know, it's not about, you know, the big houses and nice cars. It's about moments with people you care about. And I mean, that's what's going to last a lifetime, right?
Yeah. And it's, yeah. So,
cool.
Yeah. And I guess I tend to like to go towards the big things, you know? So part of the responsibility of the conversation going the direction that it did, it's on me, you know? I like to go to these places, but it's like, yeah, this is how I feel, because I think music is like an amazing thing. It's afforded me these opportunities. But the thing is, I don't think you need to be in a band touring the world to experience the same things. That being said, if you want to be in a band and tour the world, you should do that. Also, like, don't let me stop you from doing that as well.
Right.
And I think like that's also a very possible thing, more possible than a lot of people think.
Yeah. Since you're from northeastern Pennsylvania, favorite pizza?
Angelo's.
Angelo's. What's your order at Angelo's?
I get extra sweet sauce
Extra sweet. Okay.
and vegan cheese. And I've been going back and forth between thick and regular.
There's a lot of great pizza here. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Angelo's. Now, I guess you would pick Angelo's over Jerry's.
I'm still like dedicated to Angelo's.
Now, is it because of the sweet sauce? Like, I mean, you're from Kingston, correct?
I am, yeah.
Which isn't far from Pizza Perfect.
Correct.
I mean, that's like that. I mean, I love sweet sauce pizza. I love Angelo's. I love Jerry's.
I used to go to Nardozo's a lot in Anticoke
Okay,
because their sauce is really sweet. And I mean, the reason why I like Angelo's more than Jerry's and Richie's, partially like Angelo's is the oldest of the three Richie pizza joints.
Okay.
So like the oven has the most like juice in it. Like that's like real, you know, like it had like they made the most pizzas in it. So therefore it has like the most special sauce in the oven.
Worn in, yeah.
Yeah. And also I'm partial to their ratio of cheese to sauce.
Okay.
And so there's something about it. And also like that was the first one I really fell in love with as it like, cause all the pizza places before that were like places that my parents took me to or something, you know?
Sure.
And so that was like when I had a car and I was like able to go new places and try new things. That's kind of like where we wound up. And so, yeah, I have like a big sentimental attachment to it, but I also still think it's the best.
Okay. All right. I'm a big Pizza Perfect fan myself. You ever have Two Gals?
No, where's that?
Two Gals is, I want to say it's in Wilkes-Barre. It might be like, it's off of George Ave, I think it is. It's right by the Axelrad offices, kind of like it's closer than it's not. I'm trying to think. It's on a road between the Woodlands and Axelrad. I think that's Laird Street in Wilkes-Barre.
Uh-huh.
Or maybe it's I might be fucking this all up, but it's kind of like back in Plains, Wilkes-Barre. They have great pizza, also sweet sauce. Two Gals.
All right.
I think they've been affected by, the pandemic, obviously, and, rising food costs and ingredients and things like that. So like they're open. Sometimes they're not, and it's been weird, but great pizza.
Yeah.
Two Gals.
Let's check it out.
Check it out. Let me know. Now, are you still around here, or are you out of town now?
I'm not.
Cool.
I'm living in DC currently.
That's what I thought you were out of town. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool. And did I hear a cat earlier?
Yeah.
Nice. I have a cat too. I don't know where she is. I'm surprised she's not down here, like crawling across the screen here.
Yeah. She gave up on me a little bit ago. She was trying to get my attention and bailed.
Okay. Well, dude, I don't want to keep you. It's already been an hour. I appreciate your time. I'm disappointed in myself that, I didn't get into Title Fight sooner. I'm disappointed in myself that I was kind of confused of Wicca Phase and Glitterer, and I didn't get into Glitterer sooner than I have. But it's all great music. Thank you for being an important part of, the scene here in northeastern Pennsylvania. I think you've been more powerful than you realize, or maybe not, because to have the mayor call you and things like that in the news and all that over a mural has got to be wild. But I think you know what I'm saying. Like, I'm sure you appreciate everything that this area has provided and then supported and all that kind of stuff. So thank you for doing this for me, being my guest on the 100th episode. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah.
And
Thanks. Thanks for having me. Any importance that I have, which is very little, belongs to the people.
you're very humble, and that's it's really cool to see someone that has the success that you've had, stay grounded and appreciate where they've come from and all that kind of stuff. I know we talked about the show that people listening to this can't go to, the sold out show in Honesdale, but where can they catch Glitterer after that?
We are doing a UK tour in September, as well as one show in Barcelona. That's September 10th to the 18th. And then in November, we are going on tour for 3 weeks with Tiger Shah and Heart Attack Man, and that's stateside. Closest show to Wilkes-Barre to that will be Philly or Baltimore.
Nice.
So yeah, that 2 more tours to close out the year, and then hopefully be announcing some more stuff for early next year in the coming weeks or months.
Sweet. I'm looking forward to like being on the cutting edge of that new stuff.
Yeah.
Nice.
There is a Glitterer newsletter that I would recommend people sign up for. That's like the best place to find.
And where's
all
that?
It's in the Glitterer link tree. But I believe the address is tinyletter.com/Glitterer.
Cool.
So that's a good place to stay up to date on all the shows.
Very cool. Ned, thank you very much. It means a lot.
Thanks for having me.
All right. I'll talk to you soon.
Sounds good.
All right. See ya.